Take a close look at modern-day Sultanahmet Square, a place visited with great interest by millions of people in today's Istanbul. Can you see the past? People walk here peacefully under the bright, cheerful sun, snapping photos. Yet, they are completely unaware of the dark and terrifying secret that lies directly beneath their feet. 1,500 years ago, this very ground was soaked in the blood of 30,000 citizens, massacred in just a single day. Today's joyful hustle and bustle of tourists and the clicking sounds of camera shutters are actually masking the phantom echoes of ancient Rome. This wasn't just an ordinary square. It was the roaring, violent heart of the Byzantine Empire. The untold, dark story of Constantinople's Hippodrome and the Nika Riots. The era when this grand square almost turned to ash in a single week finally finds its voice today. In the 6th century, this colossal Byzantine Empire was ruled by an incredibly controversial duo that left the ancient world astonished. This person was none other than Emperor Justinian, born a simple peasant from Macedonia who climbed his way up the ranks with the help of military fortune. However, far more intriguing was his beloved wife, Empress Theodora. What scandalized the court aristocracy was her past. She was a former actress, a dancer, and the daughter of a hippodrome bearkeeper, meaning she came from the absolute lowest tier of society. The elite utterly despised them. The emperor had a grand dream: to fund his ambitions of reclaiming Western Roman territories and constructing monumental edifices. Justinian imposed cruel and crushing taxes upon the people. Corruption ran rampant within the courts. The public groaned under the weight of the emperor's greed. The imperial city had turned into a political powder keg, waiting for a single spark to ignite a rebellion. In this city of legendary beauty, the true center of life wasn't the palace, but Constantinople's great hippodrome. Capable of holding hundreds of thousands of spectators, this massive U-shaped stadium was the ultimate entertainment hub for all citizens. Decorated with grand monuments stolen from Egypt and Greece, such as the colossal obelisk and the bronze serpentine column, this arena was a marvel of ancient engineering. Here, the four-horse chariot races weren't just a sport. They were intense political warfare. The spectators were split into two major radical factions, the Blues and the Greens. These groups weren't just like modern football clubs. They were organized political parties with their own private militias, religious ties, and immense political power. They held massive leverage over the throne. To cheer for a team in the Hippodrome meant choosing your side in a dangerous, ongoing Cold War. One day, as the calendars marked January 13th, 532 AD, a minor riot broke out during a routine race day. The Blues and the Greens begged the emperor for mercy regarding their members who had been sentenced to death due to a previous clash. Justinian rejected this request with cold indifference. At that exact moment, the most impossible event in history took place. The Blues and the Greens, bitter enemies until that day, turned their gaze toward the imperial box. They united against their tyrant. A single thunderous roar shook the stadium. Nika, Nika, meaning victory or conquer. The furious crowd stormed out of the stadium. For 5 terrifying days, Constantinople burned. Protesting the taxes, the mob set fire to tax registries, grand palaces, and the original Hagia Sophia, turning the heart of the empire into ash. Cornered and terrified, Justinian barricaded himself inside his palace and prepared to flee by ship, taking the imperial treasury with him. He had given up on everything, but Empress Theodora stood tall and stopped him with words engraved in history. "If you wish to flee, Caesar, go. The sea is fine, and your ships are ready. But for me, I stay. I agree with the ancient proverb, the royal purple makes a fine burial shroud. Shamed and inspired by his wife's iron will, Justinian stepped back from the docks. He decided to fight. The imperial couple decided to annihilate all their enemies with a dark plot. They devised a sinister and deceptive plan. Justinian unleashed his most ruthless, battle-hardened commanders, General Belisarius and General Mundus. Yet they did not immediately rush into the streets with swords drawn. Instead, they deployed a deadly ruse. Imperial agents infiltrated the city and convinced the 30,000 rioters to gather back inside the Hippodrome. They told them that the emperor wished to broker a fair peace and distribute gold from the treasury to the public. The massive crowd poured into the stadium with joy, celebrating their apparent victory. And at that exact moment, the colossal iron gates slammed shut from the outside. Heavy wooden bars dropped tightly into place. All exits were completely locked. Emerging from the shadows of the stone arches, elite barbarian mercenaries drew their swords and charged into the stands. What took place was not a battle. It was a merciless slaughter. The rioters were trapped like animals. Swords sliced through the crowds, and the racetrack literally turned into rivers of blood. By sunset, 30,000 people lay lifeless on the stone floor of the arena. The crimson glow of the setting sun reflected off the blood in the square, making it look like a crimson lake. When everything was over, the bloody week came to an end. The rebellion was crushed, and Justinian's absolute rule was carved into stone. To ensure the city forgot its own sins, the emperor immediately commissioned the empire's finest architects and mathematicians. Using the literal ash and ruins of the burned city, he constructed a more magnificent temple, the majestic Hagia Sophia, that still stands today. He built his legacy right on top of a mass grave. Therefore, the next time you walk through Sultanahmet Square, stop for a moment. Put aside the vendors selling corn, roasted chestnuts, and cotton candy, and ignore the tourist crowds. Remember the 30,000 people who dared to shout for freedom, only to be put to the sword by the dark history of the Hippodrome. Who knows, perhaps some of them are still there. If you enjoyed this journey into the mysterious history of Istanbul and the deep secrets of the ancient world, make sure to hit that subscribe button, like this video, and leave a comment below. Which historical mystery should we uncover next?